The crystalline chamber of the Apex Council gleamed with bioluminescent veins that pulsed like living circuitry. Michelle stood at the center of the amphitheater, her hands cuffed with energy restraints that hummed against her wrists. Around her, representatives from 47 galactic civilizations watched with multifaceted eyes, sensory tendrils, and optical arrays that had witnessed millennia of cosmic history. She had known this day would come eventually. Human Michelle Torres, the voice of Archon Velkuth resonated through translation matrices embedded in the air itself. The insectoid being's mandibles clicked rhythmically. You stand accused of violating subsection Theta 9 of the Controlled Species Act. Your kind was explicitly forbidden from leaving your quarantine world. Michelle's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Beside the judgment platform, Paul Richardson sat in a containment sphere, his face pressed against the transparent surface. They'd captured him on Europa Station 3 cycles ago, right after their ship had made the jump through unauthorized space. "The charges are clear," continued Velkuth. "Unauthorized system breach, theft of jump gate coordinates, and most critically, attempting to make contact with protected civilizations without council sanction." The Archon's crystalline wings spread wide. "Humanity was designated as a developmental species. You were not ready." "Not ready?" Michelle finally spoke, her voice carrying across the chamber despite having no visible amplification. "You've kept us locked in our own solar system for 200 years. Every time we reached the edge, your drones turned us back. Every time we tried to communicate, you jammed our signals. You want to talk about ready? We've been ready since before you built your first cage around us." A murmur rippled through the council. Several representatives exchanged what might have been concerned glances across species barriers. Velkuth's antenna twitched. "You do not understand the protocols. When your world was first scanned, the genetic markers were concerning. The Apex Council has maintained galactic peace for 70,000 cycles. We recognize predator species. We understand evolutionary aggression. But humans?" The Archon paused, an almost imperceptible hesitation. "Humans were different." "Different how?" Paul's voice came through the sphere's audio link. "Different because we don't have natural weapons? Because we're not as strong as the Vraxians or as smart as the Cole Consortium?" "Precisely the opposite," replied Counselor Jara, a being of pure energy contained in a magnetic bottle. Her voice was like wind chimes in a storm. "You are apex predators from a death world who weaponized cooperation itself. Your genetic code contains markers we've only seen in extinct species, the ones who destroyed themselves or had to be contained before they destroyed others." Michelle felt the weight of those words. She'd read the classified files they'd stolen from the orbital monitoring station. She knew what the Council had found in human DNA: persistence-hunting protocols written into their mitochondria, pattern recognition that bordered on precognition, an immune system that treated hostile environments as merely temporary obstacles. And most troubling to the Council, a neurological framework that could rationalize almost anything as necessary for survival. "You want proof?" Velkuth's tone shifted, taking on an edge that translated as fear across every language matrix. "You demand to know why Earth was quarantined? Very well. We will show the Council what humanity truly is." The Archon produced a device that looked like a spiral of frozen starlight. "A blood test. 1 sample. We will run it through the Celestial Archive, the genetic library containing every species that has ever achieved spaceflight. The archive will identify threat classification, evolutionary trajectory, and cosmic heritage." Michelle exchanged a glance with Paul. This was it, the moment their carefully planned infiltration had been building toward. If the Council saw their true genetic markers, there would be no negotiation, no compromise. "Do it," Michelle said quietly. The restraints released one of her hands. A medical drone approached, its sterile appendage drawing a single drop of crimson blood. The sample floated toward the archive device, which began to glow with increasing intensity. The chamber fell silent. Data began scrolling across holographic displays in languages both ancient and contemporary. Genetic sequences unraveled like cosmic strings. The archive's core pulsed faster, its light shifting from blue to amber to deep crimson. Then it spoke. Species: Homo sapiens. Origin world: Earth. Sol system: Orion arm. Classification: The archive's voice stuttered, something that had never occurred in its 100,000-year operation. Classification: error. Reclassifying. Designation: inheritor species. Evolutionary path: persistence, apex. Threat assessment. The pause stretched for 3 heartbeats. Threat level: unlimited. Warning: This species has demonstrated the capacity to survive planetary extinction events, adapt to any environmental condition, weaponize abstract concepts, and maintain social cohesion across planetary scales. Genetic markers indicate probability of galactic-scale civilization within 3 generations if uncontained. Recommendation: immediate. Velkuth shut down the archive before it could finish. The chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives were standing, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of light, sound, and pheromones. Several were already moving toward exits. "You see?" Velkuth turned to face the council, his voice barely controlled. "This is why Earth was quarantined. Not as punishment, but as protection. Protection for the galaxy. Humans don't just survive, they dominate. They don't just adapt, they terraform. They don't just learn, they absorb, iterate, and optimize until nothing can challenge them." Michelle felt Paul's eyes on her. She nodded slightly. "You're right," she said, and the chamber fell silent again. "About all of it. We are persistent. We do adapt. We will spread across the stars. But you made one critical mistake in your assessment." She stepped forward despite the restraints reactivating. "You assumed that threat and destruction are the same thing. You forgot that the same species that hunted mammoths to feed our tribes also domesticated wolves into companions. The same hands that built atomic weapons also reached out to help former enemies rebuild. We don't just survive, we bring others with us. We don't just dominate, we cooperate." Paul's voice joined hers. "You've been watching us for 2 centuries. You've seen our wars, our failures, our moments of darkness. But did you see the relief ships after disasters? The treaties that held despite differences? The fact that we brought our entire ecosystem with us when we colonized Mars because we couldn't bear to leave Earth's children behind?" Counselor Jara's energy form flickered with what might have been contemplation. "What are you proposing, humans?" Michelle smiled then, an expression that had once intimidated predators on African plains. "A partnership. You're right, we're unlimited, but unlimited doesn't mean uncontrolled. Let us prove that humanity's greatest threat isn't to others, but to the barriers that keep civilizations apart." The Apex Council deliberated for 3 hours. When the vote came, it was narrow, 24 to 23. The quarantine would lift. Humanity would join the galactic community, not as a contained threat, but as probationary members. Michelle and Paul would serve as the first ambassadors, living proof that Earth's children could be trusted with the stars. As the energy restraints finally released and Paul's containment sphere opened, Michelle looked up at the vast window showing the spiral arms of the galaxy. Unlimited, she thought. They had no idea how right they were, but they were about to find out.